Police in New York are investigating a recent Antifa attack on Republicans as a hate crime.
So tell me about what happened when you were in this fight then. Who came to your assistance?
Just a crowd of about maybe 70, 80 Antifa members.
What's wrong, kid?
I just got bullied for being gay.
What's about to happen again? Yeah, they should be gassed and hanged, all of them.
Because I actually know him. I'm here to tell you why he's a fraud and this is bullshit.
Did smash some dude out there.
Since the birth of the internet, there is ways for like-minded people to connect across the world on many different platforms. There's a place for everyone, from hardcore gamers to all-round music appreciators, to fashion lovers, to hungry hippos. And there's even a safe place for furries. Ew, gross. People that may not have necessarily had the ability to socialise with people with similar hobbies and interests in real life suddenly could do it in the virtual world. But just like the opening of Pandora's box in Greek mythology, a gift which seems invaluable but in reality will bring unexpected troubles. And with that being said, say hello to the Gypsy Crusader. If you're a skinny, heterosexual white man, he'll happily say hello back. Aw, isn't that lovely? But if you're a gay, bisexual, trans, binary, queer, black, Asian, overweight female, or just hold opposing views to him, chances are he's going to greet you with some casual queerphobia, xenophobia, or misogyny. Or just straight up call you the hard R N-word. And apparently, this is what passes for humour nowadays. Well, at least I think it's supposed to be humour. And I'm not the only one who seems to be confused whether this is a really bad attempt at a comedy character. At first, I thought it was supposed to be, a parody of the sort of Shane Dawson-esque edgy humour from 2008, but then it dawned on me, holy shit, this guy is actually serious. And you thought Caitlin Bennett was bad. And that's a sentence I bet no one would expect someone to utter in their lifetime. You've probably seen a few clips of Gypsy Crusader floating around the internet, from forums to compilation videos on YouTube to fan edits on TikTok and Twitter. Gypsy Crusader is an online alias for Paul Miller. Paul is an alt-right activist and streamer who exploded in popularity in 2020 with his live streams in which he dresses up and acts like the Joker on Omegle, and then screams hate speech at unexpected victims before they ultimately disconnect. Because who wants to listen to a nutcase scream the N-word at them?
Alright, whatever. What are you? What are you, a person? What are you? Bat soup?
Oh, you're a grown man and you're acting like this.
Are you a bat soup person?
Why are you talking to me like that?
Because I hate...
Okay.
Yeah. Ooga booga.
You look like a clown, really?
Oh, well, it's so original!
I like clowns.
You're not gonna like this one.
Why?
You wanna know why?
Yeah.
Because I hate...
And while Gypsy Crusader is best known for his metaphorical incel characterization of the Joker from the DC universe, he's actually dressed up as a few people that you may remember, such as Mario, the Riddler, and at one point a notorious fascist leader from the 1940s, who can't be named for obvious reasons, but hazard a guess?
Wahoo! Riddle me this. They are loud and obnoxious. They like music that rhymes. They're a fraction of the population, but they commit half the crimes. Who are they?
Women.
Is that your final answer? Of course it's not women. Women are not that violent. The answer is, who is the
During his streams, sometimes he'll be connected with his supporters and they immediately greet each other with the infamous salute, and then they discuss their mutual hate for anything not white and straight. It sounds riveting, but it's really the most awkward encounter I've ever witnessed. He gets upset when he connects with young people who support gay rights and Black Lives Matter, and he calls them out and says, oh, like, you're brainwashed, this, that and the other. Yet he will try and instill the same hate ideology into his young white preteen supporters. It's kind of ironic.
Okay, I'm saying I do this and I say gay people.
Oh yeah? Nice, brother. Yo, good for you, man. God bless you, kid. You gave me a lot of hope just now.
Okay, you're probably thinking, how the hell is this guy getting away with this? What the hell, Susan? Well, he is, but he isn't. Gypsy Crusader has had his accounts terminated across the board in recent months, with his YouTube, Twitter and Instagram all suspended. But that didn't stop him trying to get some sweet attention from edgy preteens online.
Gypsy, I love you.
He resorted to streaming on Twitch, until that was recently deleted as well. But you can now find him on Twitch's inbred brother, Bitwave TV, and Twitter's creepy alt-right uncle, Telegram, where all the big bad men go. And look, I know you're worrying about poor wee Gypsy Crusader. Don't worry, he's still able to monetize without YouTube's lucrative AdSense program, but we'll get to that later in the video. But first, I want to explain the story of Gypsy Crusader, aka Paul Miller, because every villain needs an origin story, and a good one. So, if you've ever come across a clip of the Gypsy Crusader, then you've definitely come across the same sad story posted a million times in the comments.
The Gypsy Crusader is only this way because of the left.
Because when something doesn't go your way, it's always a safe bet to blame the commies.
I say we tell Finster he's a communist!
I was really interested in what this meant, but I could never actually figure out what the comments are talking about. No, like, really, it's just thousands of comments with the same story saying Antifa made him this way with no actual explanation. However, when I was arm deep in the Gypsy Crusader rabbit hole, I managed to find this video of him explaining what happened.
Alright, so look, I'm gonna give my story real quick. So I know a lot of people, they've been asking me for my story. So I'm gonna tell you guys my story real quick, okay? Why I'm like this, what happened.
So, too long, didn't read? Paul claims he is the way he is because he was out working as a neutral journalist covering various marches and rallies from Antifa and Black Lives Matter in New York. Okay, fair enough. He says he was attacked by Antifa for not siding with them and was subsequently doxxed and kicked out of his professional fighting team by his coach and became what he is today, a guy on Omegle calling people the N-word. And look, if any of that is true, that's not cool. The Antifa guys who did this to Paul, and Paul himself for thinking his behaviour is in any way okay. Getting beat up by masked white men is in no way a pass to be a bigot online. I can't even believe I'm even having to say something like this.
Swear to God, every word of this is true. I was on the news for it. I'll pull it up if you want.
Paul then uses his appearance speaking on this on the One American News as proof for what he is saying is factually true.
These are in black masks, in black clothes. They look so scary, dangerous.
It all looks like a pretty solid story. It's on TV, so it must be true. Case closed? Well, no, because Scooby-Doo taught me that not everything you see on the news is true.
Fred Jones, leader of Mystery Incorporated, had this to say.
You are black as the ace of spades.
That's out of context.
There's a few things in Paul's story that doesn't really make any sense. And of course, if you point this out to his fans, they just blatantly support him. Nevertheless, let's scratch beneath the surface with this story. Firstly, One American News Network, also known as One American News, is a far-right pro-Donald Trump cable channel known for pushing controversial theories with no supporting evidence and bringing on controversial guests that have been debunked time and time again. They're a joke to the craft of journalism, and that's coming from me, a soy boy beta cock snowflake making YouTube videos about biggity bad scary poop men on the internet. The news piece itself contradicts Paul's story, as he said in the streams that he was there alone with a female friend, and out of trying to protect her, he tells her to flee the situation. Yet, in the news piece, they show footage of the attack, and you can clearly see two men wearing MAGA hats fighting with three masked Antifa members, none of which are Paul Miller. Presumably he's off camera somewhere fighting the other 7 members by himself. So it looks like there's a few men with him, not just him and the girl all alone. Conveniently enough, the news piece ties this all together as Paul says that they came to rescue him.
And who came to your assistance? Who helped you?
Gavin and Jake. They literally, when other people would have walked away in the streets of New York, these 2 men sat there and helped me fight these guys. Gavin took one, Jake took one, and I took one.
I just find it weird because when we hear this story, we're always told 10 Antifa members, but we can only see 3 in the proof video that they have. But what's even more interesting than that is that Paul keeps hammering down to the viewers how scary this altercation was and how dangerous it was.
These are in black masks, in black clothes. They looked so scary, dangerous.
Did they have weapons on them?
I think they did because they had the signs that they were chanting with, and the signs had like these big wood, like the sign was on itself. It was like this big wood piece. It's dangerous.
Yet, Paul stupidly uploaded this video to his private Instagram where it was recorded and re-uploaded online, where he was bragging about the fight right after it happens, and he seems totally exhilarated by the experience where he says he was fighting a guy, not 10 guys.
Did smash some dude out there. It was pretty. I didn't want to fight with the guy. He just got in my face, so I kind of pushed him away. And it was absolutely insane. It was a good time. And my God, it was crazy, but a lot of fun.
That doesn't sound like the cries of an innocent civilian caught up in a leftist rumble now, does it? Furthermore, Paul explains that he was there as an independent journalist just to cover the events of the Antifa rallies. But again, this is contradicted in the news piece where he explains he was actually trying to see Gavin McGuinness, a prominent figurehead of the far-right extremist group, the Proud Boys.
I was turned away from the event, and they sold out. So me and a friend, we was walking down the street.
He also explains he's a member of a Republican committee, which doesn't sound at all like a neutral journalist to me.
And you're not a member of the Proud Boys or a member of the Republican Club. You just went as a spectator to see it.
No, I'm not a member of the Proud Boys. I know them, but I'm not a member, and I'm not a member of the Republican Club there. I'm a Republican committee, but not there. I just went there to see.
Sure, Jen. Paul Miller has retold this story a few times on his streams over the last year, but with every retelling of the story, I found his story always had the same format, but a few minor details are embellished into the story. And honestly, as much as I want to believe that this is the origin story and give him the benefit of the doubt and why he has such hateful, despicable views, I just don't find the telling of his story at all credible. Too many plot holes opposed to plot twists for my liking. Give me a shred of evidence, something besides a dodgy news interview where you're the sole witness. Like, were the people that were involved, the girl, the guys, a police report? Surely somebody or something can give their side of this and back up the story and give it a bit of weight. The only thing we know watching this is Paul's side of the story. There's nothing to the contrary, and because of this, it's just a blind jump of faith that he is telling the truth. But let's just say, for the sake of argument's sake, everything Paul is saying is true, despite the numerous plot holes. Paul says because of this altercation, he became the victim of a doxing by Antifa.
And I used to go to all kinds of rallies and protests and things like that, and I would cover it. I was independent. I was trying to make my way as a journalist. That's what I wanted to do. They then doxed me. They got me fired. They harassed me. Then after that happened, they harassed me more, doxed me again, and then get me fired from my personal training job, and then I was not able to make money anymore.
Not entirely sure how this would lead to a doxing, but okay. From the doxing, he lost his career in journalism and was kicked out of his fight club, which was his livelihood and identity. It's all very tragic and heartbreaking how being the victim of an assault could lead to this. And again, we have to take this at face value because there is no contrary story. And so, being the stalker that I am, I did a bit of digging. I managed to find the Weapons 9 Muay Thai gym where Paul trained. If you scroll through the photos, which goes back as far as 2013, you can see Paul there, but around 2016, it starts to get a bit patchy. This doxing apparently happened in 2018, so I wondered what was happening in this patchy time period. What we were missing was someone that knows Paul Miller firsthand. Someone that can actually give a second-hand account of his life being ruined from the altercation. And ladies and germs, I found that person. I reached out and I managed to get into contact with Greg Pritchett, who also goes online as Protege. He's a Muay Thai fighter himself with aspirations to make it as a stunt performer. Greg was very helpful and answered a lot of questions I had about Paul, so if you get a chance, please follow him in his social links below. The guy is an actual legend. He's a cosplay martial artist, like what more could you want from somebody? I wanted to foremost clarify why Paul Miller, aka Gypsy Crusader, was kicked out of Weapons 9. Greg clarified that Paul was not kicked out of the club for being doxed. He said that wouldn't make any sense, which honestly validated myself and so many other people's suspicions.
So the narrative, and this is something that I believe too until watching this, the narrative was that he was there as like a journalist. Why the fuck was he there? Who goes to like a Proud Boys rally as a spectator? I don't know. This is a little bit more suspicious here.
Greg stated that Paul was kicked out on 3 separate occasions by his coach, Chris Tran, which explains his patchy presence in the last few years.
Are you a bat suit person?
Greg also went on to say that Chris Tran himself told him and others that Paul was kicked out all those times due to his increasingly harassing behaviour online and bringing a bad name to the club. There was no mention of doxing or the club being harassed by Antifa. To explain this a bit better, you see Greg and Paul were friends on Facebook before the alleged doxing. Greg said that Paul was the type of person where anytime Greg shared anything pro-LGBT, Paul would always be the first person to comment something horrible and would often fight with Greg's supportive LGBT friends in the comment section. And this was just Greg's experience, but it seemed to be happening across the board in social links of the Weapon 9's club and the local martial artist community. Paul was harassing people based on their political beliefs on Facebook. And we have to remember, Paul Miller is a highly trained professional fighter and could do some lethal damage to someone in the right situation. As we can see from his live streams, he's very aggressive. I don't think it would be a stretch of the imagination to say that Paul went looking for a fight with some lefties that night.
Look who it is, the assholes. Look at these fucking degenerate pieces of shit. What? What? What, motherfucker? What the fuck you gonna do? Fucking pussies ain't gonna do shit.
Chris Tran was actually really understanding and he attempted to give Paul 3 chances to stop the behaviour, but with each time it never lasted and he decided enough was enough and to permanently kick him out of the club. Greg believes that Paul has told this tale in order to garner sympathy online, which I'm inclined to agree with because I found the whole origin story very manipulative and deceptive. As we can see from political campaigns, the most obvious propaganda lies are the ones that do the best. Greg himself posted a video on TikTok a few weeks ago trying to highlight this to the Gypsy Crusader fandom, but it was no use. They don't take anything anyone says about their leader seriously. And look, with all this said, Paul wasn't always a garbage person. In fact, Greg actually had a lot of positive things to say about Paul. He said Paul was a very positive person to be around and he was a cool role model, with Greg only being 15 and Paul being in his mid-20s. One day Greg was starving after fasting for one of his big fights and Paul was the first person to come over and actually brought him a slice of cake that his mum got him, and it took the edge off. They also bonded over their mutual love of comics, gaming anime, and at one point Paul made a cool post-apocalypse Batman cosplay and even offered to 3D print some parts for Greg. This would also explain some of the Gypsy Crusader's characters, because obviously deep down Paul is the same guy. It's probably why he identified with a DC character. And it makes me think, in a way, Paul is self-aware of the hatred that he's spewing because he's managed to caricature the anger with a character as dark as the Joker. One of the final things that I gathered from my conversation with Greg was that Paul actually was a very staunch supporter of Bernie Sanders, and they actually bonded over it. Paul had so much hope for the future before the 2016 Democratic nominee was chosen. However, when Hillary Clinton was announced to face Trump, Paul fell off the deep end and became convinced that the left was corrupt. It's around this time it seems most likely that Paul Miller consumed the red pill and went down the channel of alt-right algorithms that eventually led to him becoming radicalized. And this is in no way an isolated incident. This is happening across the web to many teenage boys and men that eventually become trapped in an alt-right echo chamber. And look, it works both ways. It can happen on the left side as well. If you're interested in understanding this process in more detail, Innuendo Studios did a video called The Alt-Right Playbook, How to Radicalize a Normie. I highly recommend it. There's some interesting points and then there's some not so interesting ones, but that's the beauty of life. You don't have to agree with someone 100%. There's some good ideas and there's some bad ones. It's just sad to see someone's mind being completely brainwashed to have nothing more but hate for anyone. Paul Miller was not born like this. If he learned it, he can unlearn it. But the issue for Paul is that he's in a tough spot. He's actively promoting these beliefs to his young teenage fanbase, and he's even capitalizing off it. A man has gotta eat, and surely with the type of content Paul is making, he obviously does not work anywhere like most of the internet's finest incels. Gypsy Crusader is literally the most controversial content you can get. Nowadays, you could never monetize something like this on mainstream social media platforms. But clearly Paul Miller is doing it in ways that evidently keeps him financially well fed. During his streams, you can donate at any time in various methods, from Cash App to sending Bitcoin to even buying him a coffee. There's no real way to track how much he's getting because you can't see what he's getting. It's not like Twitch. Although something that I can track is the sales of his merch. Most creators sell merch, some creators sell meet and greets. Gypsy Crusader is selling his infamous toy gun that when you pull it, it says the N-word. It's a famous prop on his streams that he uses to shock people. So he was advertising these on Telegram for $30 a pop, and guess how quickly they sold out? In less than a minute. Like, I'm not even kidding, I just happened to be on his page when he announced it, and when I refreshed the page to take a screenshot, they'd all been sold out. Since this, he's added a catalogue of pins, arm patches, and cards for various price tags, and they're selling like actual hotcakes.
You would like to support the stream, please consider buying a patch. Patches are still available. Joker patches are 16. The Totenkopfs with or without the SS are 15. You can order right through my Venmo, Cash App, or Zelle.
One even has the face of the late George Floyd, which is so disgusting. I'm aware that his PayPal has recently been deleted as they found out what he was selling, but yet again, there is still plenty of other means. So in the meantime, there is an initiative to keep making the content to stay relevant in the alt-right community and make money, so why would Paul Miller stop? Like many people that were once absorbed into dangerous radical groups, when the power of hate finally stops working and they escape, they will have to live with the things that they have said or done. If we're truly the progressive society that we think we are, we need to be able to help these young men and help them rehabilitate and rejoin society with an end of judgment upon remorse and punishment. These are not stupid people, they've just been programmed and brainwashed.
That must be actual size!
Don't get me wrong, what they are saying and doing is horrible and disgusting, but they are still people. And that's what separates our thinking from theirs. Men such as Christian Picioli have escaped and managed to turn their lives around and became beacons of hope for those still trapped by echo chambers of hate. Paul Miller, like it or not, is still a victim to oppressors that are hell-bent in dividing society. He is still saying and promoting awful things, so I would say he's far worse than most because he's actively monetizing off it and trapping new young people who've come across his clips on TikTok and ultimately fell into an alt-right algorithm oblivion. And the proof is in the comment section. Young boys are idolizing Paul Miller and every word he says. When I watch his videos, I can't help but think it's a little pathetic. From the evil laughter he does after saying something disgusting to an ethnic person, to the drive-by rants where he just really makes me cringe. It just comes off as someone very desperate for attention and admiration from teenage boys. But he needs to stop now before someone really gets hurt. Paul recently has been promoting a book called The White Ally by Rob Rivers because the author of the book has made him like a prophet type character in it. Paul himself describes it as another The Turner Diaries inspired novel about white people overthrowing a totalitarian state of ethnic people. This is when things become very real and very dangerous and is no longer just a joke on Omegle. This is when people die. Paul himself disgustingly said that the victims of Christchurch deserved what they got. It just takes Paul himself or one of his dedicated followers to do what mass shooters have done before. The Christchurch killer literally shouted "subscribe to PewDiePie" before he killed innocent civilians. Do not underestimate the power of the internet and especially what people who have felt discarded by society can do when they're angry. Especially during a global pandemic when people are experiencing little to no interaction. Seeing Gypsy Crusader scream hate speech at people during a live stream could be the first time people are hearing a voice speak to them that day. If someone gets killed in his name, he'll not be able to come back from this. And this is where I'm going to end today's video, which is probably one of the longest videos I've made, but I think it should have been longer. But this is just a passion project. I do this outside of my full-time job, but maybe in the future there'll be more long-form pieces. As always, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. I hope you can leave a like and maybe even comment suggesting another future video. And of course, subscribe. Be kind. Audie Shotter out.